All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast, talking about the third and final week of the 2023 Tour of Italy. And hey, for all you Americans, happy Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys are up to no good. And just when you're out there, out and about, just keep in mind, safety third. All right. I'm sitting here in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, here for my daughter's lacrosse tournament. I tell you, it's fun. These kids start playing sports, and most of these games and sports, you know at least some of the rules. I tell you, this lacrosse thing, just forget it. I mean, I just sit there. I'm like, what happened? Like new sport, new rules, new penalties, new field, new equipment. All I do is just sit there and keep the seat warm.
That's a cool sport.
I gotta say, as much as as I start to go to the games and watch, I'm like, damn. This is a really cool sport.
That was kind of an East Coast thing for a long time.
Yeah, big time in Long Island, where I grew up.
Yeah. You spoiled kids coming west. I'm joined by JB Hager there in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, hello.
JB, how you doing?
Doing good, doing great.
Got an IPA out yet? Holiday weekend?
I moved a couple from the garage fridge to that fridge.
Yeah,
I haven't touched it yet.
Okay, good. And over there down in the wine cellar, Mr. George Hincapie. How you doing, Georgie?
Good, guys. How's everybody doing? Happy Memorial Day weekend.
You're heading out to the lake for the weekend or what?
I went and came back and going back.
Good for you. Johan up there in Madrid, I believe. We never know with the backdrop,
I'm on Monte Lusari.
Anyways, what an interesting final week. I mean, it just goes to show this sport, it's not over till it's over. Truly. We're going to get into all that action. Today's show brought to you by Ventum. This is the go-to whip. I realize I always say whip, and I just like to call bikes whips, but this thing is really kind of a whip. This is our go-to whip / bike for George and I. Obviously on the road, the NS1, which thing's a damn rocket ship. On the gravel, the GS1. It's absolutely incredible. The thing rides like a road bike, handles like a road bike, stiff, fast. Choose your wheel sets, choose your tires. Thing is just absolutely awesome. The brand is totally kicking ass. They have dedicated customer support. They help you out at every step of the purchasing process. They're also, in case you're looking for it, producing great content. If you need a little inspiration before you head out there on a ride, check out their socials. Go on over to Instagram or YouTube, and those are both at Ventum Racing. Special offer. Oh, I have one other thing. Last week we talked, George had that fancy Colombian Ventum NS1. Well, y'all know, I didn't just sit by, right? I got something in the works, G, just so you know. Okay.
All right. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Will it be ready by July?
That's a great question. I certainly hope so, because I've also been training hard and planning to put it to use. So special offer for our listeners, 10% off when you use the code WEDO at checkout over at ventumracing.com/themove. Again, that's 10% off. The code is WEDO at ventumracing.com/themove. Also today brought to you by Athletic Greens. Really and truly, this is just about taking control of your health. This has become a daily habit, I think, for all of us on this show, not just us sitting here. I know my family is on the Athletic Greens train. Grace is back home from college every morning, Athletic Greens, even when she goes back to school, takes the travel packs. It's a game changer. And we're big believers, as is, a hell of a lot smarter people than us, people like Peter Attia and Anthony Huberman. Absolutely amazing. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens help you start your day off just right, all for less than $3 a day. Also, I should add one more thing. The formulation, the founders created this formulation because he was having some gut health issues. I know a lot of us have that in our daily lives, and we kind of poke and prod and try different things, different hacks to get on top of it. This was his solution, and it changed the game for him, as it has for many others. Let's make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is head on over to athleticgreens.com/themove. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/themove.
I'm glad you said that. They're linking a lot of gut health to mental health now. I'm sure you've read that.
I think we're on the cusp of some real changes here. I think the gut has been sort of the this frontier that everybody wanted to conquer or figure out or understand better. And it's taken time. And I think people, rightfully so, have taken their time to get there. And people think about the gut, they think about digestion, they think about weight loss. But when you, to your point, JB, you start tying it in to mental health, to depression, to anxiety, all of these things. Boy, if we could unlock some of that stuff in the gut, let's go. So, hey, what a week, what a week. And we have a lot to talk about, everything from a couple of the mountaintop finishes, obviously the time trial yesterday, which I have a lot of thoughts about. Also some amazing performances by some North American riders we'd like to highlight. And then today, our man, Mark Cavendish. We'll break it down. Johan is very excited to talk about this. He's got some predictions, but what did you say, Johan, in the notes? How many Grand Tour stage wins does that bring it to today? Forget we're going to talk about the tour and potentially breaking the record, but
54 Grand Tour stages in total.
Think about that. 54 Grand Tour. So we're talking about Tour of Italy, Tour of France, Tour of Spain, 54 of them in total. 15 years after he won his first Giro stage, which was his first Grand Tour stage win, all the way back to 2008. 162 professional wins.
Not only that, but the way he won today by like 2 bike lengths over Gaviria, and it was just like he was on a different level today. Which I truly believe the stage that he crashed in was at stage 5, or I think he would have won that stage as well. This, by the way, I know his kick so well and his stature on the bike. I'm pretty sure he would have won that stage. And then, of course, another close second place a week later. And he actually called me on Monday or Tuesday after he announced. Yeah,
we need proof. We need proof of this.
Okay. Actually, oh, never mind. He called. It was Tuesday. It was the day after the rest day, and he was just exhausted. He's like, everybody's sick. The weather's been horrible. He said it's just been a miserable Giro, but he just still had that motivation. And the next day, which was the day that on paper he should have won, he kind of got lost in that lead out. But today, you just saw he had the confidence. He had some friends in the peloton, and winning by that much, where he actually got to look back, like kind of old school Mark Cavendish win, where he looks back, doesn't even feel anybody coming, and is able to really soak in the win, his first win this whole season after having such a hard time at the end of last year, coming into this year, no wins, a bunch of injuries, illnesses. Come on. It's an amazing, amazing day. I was so happy to see it.
You make a good point, because we've been seeing more photo finishes than ever. Like as of late, it's been very on the line. So we haven't seen anybody get away.
I think it's a reflection, even in the sprints, it's a reflection of how tight everything is in cycling. It's every sprint is almost a photo finish, unless you have one of these days that Cavendish is just on another level. But listen, if he was still in the race and he went over those mountain stages, it's because he thought and he believed he could win in Rome. Otherwise, he would not have stayed, because he knows he has the Tour coming up. So you know what? An extra week of not racing would obviously have been welcome. But if he stayed in, it was because he was convinced he could win that stage today.
And multiple days over 5,000 meters a day of climbing. That's not anything that Mark Cavendish wakes up any day and looks forward to, not to mention multiple days like that.
Not only that, but he said the training these days is so damn hard and so monotonous that it's almost better just to stay in a race and just suffer, because at home, if you don't get that sort of race days in now, the amount of training you have to do to remain competitive he said it's just mind-boggling. It's just so hard these days that it's better to just suffer through a race like the Giro, and then maybe just need 4, 5, 6, 7 days of training before the Tour de France, and he will be more than ready.
George, you brought up another good point, which it makes sense, and it hadn't crossed my mind. You said he found some friends in the peloton as that lead out was unfolding. I want you to think about that for a second. That is a very big deal here, right? He doesn't have one of these super sprint train lead outs that like a lot of the other teams have. He's obviously widely and highly, highly respected. He's very well liked. He's going to need friends, come July. I don't know how many, call it 8 to 10 opportunities. You know what it's like, George. And so do you, Johan, when you're there and some guy looks over and is like, man, I'm sitting next to the guy who might just break the all-time record I don't really have a shot, or I'm not feeling great or whatever, and just give him the wheel. I mean, that kind of stuff. We know this game. We know this is a political game. And there's some of the super teams that will not get out of the way. But if he's in a position where he can find a friend, that's a really, really big deal.
Well, not only that, but he just got a whole new sense of confidence from his team. And don't forget, they didn't bring Case Bowl to the Giro. So he is one of the best.
Which I do not understand, by the way.
I don't understand that either. Yeah. But now I think Vinokurov is seeing this going, oh, well, he's back. There's no doubt he's back, and he's most likely ultimately going to be better at the Tour. So I truly believe they will do everything in their power to bring, of course, Case Bowl, but guys that will support Case to get him to the line in a great position. So I truly believe he's going to have a much better support network, because one of the things he did point out leading up to the Giro was that every race I go to, I'm with different guys. Like I haven't been able to build a camaraderie, a lead out train like I have in the past. So I think he struggled with that. Now I think it's whatever he wants, he's going to be carte blanche for him.
That's what I don't understand, George. Because Astana, I mean, let's face it. Even for the Tour de France, the only thing that can save their season, because they had, I mean, even if they win today, they didn't. I mean, they're in the real bottom. They're not even in the top 18 of the World Tour teams. Is that victory, because that victory is going to mean so much. It's a historical event. So I don't understand why Cavendish wouldn't have a say in, who he feels comfortable with. And these guys need to race with him and train with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you bring a guy like Case Bowl to the team, it's clear that, it was a last minute addition because the team fell through. He was actually going to be on the B&B team there, the B&B hotel team with Cavendish. I don't understand how he cannot be at the Giro. I mean, he has to be at the Tour, but they don't have that many other guys, who can be a good lead out for Cavendish.
Well, and what a difference. I mean, he came from Quick Step, aka the Wolf Pack. I mean, they're called the Wolf Pack for a reason. Those guys, can finish each other's sentences. So it's got to be an adjustment for him for sure.
But one thing for sure is the drama and the suspense of the Tour de France sprints is now it's gotten even better. I mean, with Cav back to his best, the Wolf Pack needing some wins coming up, all the other sprinters, it's going to be super exciting. I can't wait.
What would be the ideal scenario for the Tour? I mean, he's not going to like that, no, but I think it would be amazing.
Don't start with this. I know where you're going though.
Is that Cav does not win a single stage and he has to wait until the Champs-Elysees.
Let's not. Nobody that even remotely likes him wants that. Don't even. I mean, listen, that's good for us dipshits who do podcasts, but that nobody wants that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
We don't want to jinx them. So
let's get it out of the way early, as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's amazing that after this exciting Giro finish, all we're talking about first out of the gate is Cavendish. But George, you touched on it. You said 4 or 5 solid days of training, and he's back and ready for the Tour. Can you elaborate on that a little more, of how, like, he's peaking at the right time, he's on form? How do you maintain that from this exhausting Giro to the Tour?
Well, yeah, it's just a question of you're so fit and you dug so deep for 3 weeks straight. It's just a matter of recovering. That's the most important thing. And then once you recover, it's just keeping that edge, which is not overdoing it, because I've only done it once or twice in my career where I did a 3-week stage race. And when you recover, you feel amazing. And what do you do when you feel amazing? You train too hard and you most likely overdo it. So, I mean, these guys have got their training dialed in so much now that he'll know when he's recovered, and he'll know not to overdo it to arrive at the Tour, hopefully in peak fitness.
And for those counting, we have 33 days until the start of the 2023 Tour de France. It's not a lot. You have to do it right. You can't, all these things, that we talk about in races, illness, crashes, those, you have to watch those as well. 33 days isn't, time's tight. So, and to your point, JB, you're right. I mean, obviously we have a personal connection to Mark Cavendish, and he's on the cusp of something truly historic. So you sort of go there. But yeah, we would be remiss. I mean, this last week of the Giro was, boy, there's a lot to break down. The time trial. I was sitting there, and Anna was. We were not at the lacrosse tournament. We were down yesterday at the basketball tournament down in Fort Collins for my son, and I'm watching in the car on my iPad, and I had sweaty palms watching this thing. I mean, I said, honey, look. I said, don't grab my hand. I said, I mean, just watching the bike changes, helmet changes, then the fucking mechanical. I'm like, what is going? This is too much.
Yeah. I felt like the Geraint Thomas helmet change, that was a bit too relaxed for me. I mean, it was just like
the whole thing is.
First of all, George, why would you even do that? I mean, that's
I didn't get that one.
I think that's overthinking the science, you know, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense, you know. I mean, he was super. I mean, it's like that bike change. Everything went wrong there because he was too relaxed. He didn't give his bike he just put it calmly down on the floor, his bike. Yeah. Then put that helmet on. Then he had to put his earpiece back in.
Yeah, I saw that fumbling with. Listen, it really is all sort of a moot point. It could have been a point because you saw him taking off the time trial helmet, putting on a climbing helmet. And I call it 10 seconds, right? So you sit there and go, well, if you lose by 8 or 9, did you need it? I noticed a couple of things. One, the folks at the top of the climb were actually wearing, I was looking around at the fans and the support staff, you know, they were wearing puffy jackets and it was not a hot day. But this just brings me right back to my whole point. All right. I've said this for years and I'm going to say it again. I didn't even think about it yesterday. And I don't know why I didn't, but because it's
here we go.
It's very important to me. If you're going to ride a time trial bike, all right, at the bottom, and you're going to make a bike change, and on the TT bike, you're going fast. You're going 35 miles an hour. I get it. We need a helmet. If you're going to make a bike change, and you're going to have, in the case of Primož Roglič, you're going to have a gravel bike set up in terms of gearing because the road is that steep. You're going 8-9 miles an hour, maybe the whole time. There's no downhills. There's no nut. What the fuck do you need a helmet for? You do not need a helmet, right? You don't. Make the bike change, rip off the time trial helmet, get that fucking suffer face on so that, you know what? You guys are stars, you're star athletes, your personalities. Let's see it. Let's see the suffer. Don't mess around with putting your climbing helmet. Bullshit. No helmets. I don't know what, I mean, that's like asking Kipchoge to wear a helmet in the marathon because he's running 13 miles an hour. There is you would never. What if he stubs a toe and falls and hits a curb? Are they now going to run with helmets because they're going 13 miles? I don't know. That's faster than these guys were going yesterday. You know, I didn't even think about it yesterday. I just thought of it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Wasn't part of the slow helmet change too? I think they were warned and being very strict about you had to be at a complete stop.
No, if you got on the bike, this is typical. Okay, you want me to keep going? All right. Well, here's the UCI who can't make a ruling for shit. All right, and if you follow the sport, you followed enough of it. Yeah, if you dare get on that bike and start rolling without the helmet clipped, which by the way, the helmet you didn't need. I just established that. Then you probably got docked, you know, some amount of time or disqualified or whatever. No, they're serious about that. They had that line in the road. It had to be clipped. The whole no, and no.
Well, I mean, you know, listen, we're part of, you know, we all raced without helmets. You know, if you think about that now, that's actually unthinkable.
It is unthinkable. Yeah. But I'm not trying to go, Johan, hold on. I'm not trying to go rogue about, you know, what we did or what, that's for sure. You know, or this, no, I think as a sport, I mean, sports that have, you see it. I mean, look at soccer, for example, a global sport. These guys are massive personalities because you really see them, right? You see their hairstyles, you see their, you know, whatever they got going on, you see it and you're like, oh, that dude's different. Like or that girl's different. You know, there's a lot of the personality comes out like that. I don't think you need, no, I mean it. I really mean it.
Listen, you go into a difficult, complicated terrain there because you can make exceptions. Like for yesterday's stage, you could have said, okay, this is unique. You know, listen, they did something unique. They changed, which was even more ridiculous. I think they changed the time limit to 50%. So it's a proof that they can change the rules for a specific event, right? But in the case of the helmets, you set a precedent, which, and the UCI, they are more worried about their image than anything else. There would be a lot of criticism for an international federation allowing this sporting event, breaking the security rules, the safety rules. So it's not going to happen. You can keep moaning about it, Lance. It's not
moaning.
It's not going to happen.
Listen. I'm going to, you know what? I am going to keep moaning about it because guess what? I'm right. Right. I'm very rarely right. I'm right on this one. And it has nothing to do with safety. It has to do with marketability of the athlete. Let us see them. Right. We don't need to see robots with helmets and glasses. The helmet sponsor has had plenty of time to get publicity for 3 weeks. You don't need it for the last 30 minutes of the Tour of Italy. And listen, you know what? I'm just going to say it right now. I appreciate all you listeners agreeing with me. I know y'all are all at home going, you know what? That's a damn good idea. That makes sense. So thank you in advance.
JB, put it on the schedule of our show schedule. We'll debate the UCI rules that we hate or that we think that are, useless.
That would be interesting.
But that's for the next show. But I think that we should tone in on how cool was the amount of technology and planning that must have gone into this one stage. I mean, Johan, walk us through how you would do it, because I did see that Roglič rode the course in the morning, which you thought that nobody was going to be able to ride it. So I'm just curious, and I know he grew up near there, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I'm curious, walk us through the planning of a day like yesterday.
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, for the riders, but especially for the teams, this is what people don't see. This stage and the night before, and it was a nightmare. Because. After Trecimi di Lavaredo, I think most of the teams, they got at the hotel between 9:30 and 10 p.m. They were allowed to ride the course, I think, before 9 a.m. Roglič, by the way, did that. I know another guy he once did that in a time trial, and our main rival didn't because it was raining. And you remember that, Lance, the time trial was it 2003, that you went out in the rain? And then Jan decided to not do it. Anyways,
vaguely. Those were the days where we'd get the team schedule and we'd be so not jealous of you and Lance. We'd be like, oh, thank God we could sleep in. I don't need to see this time trial course. I'm just gonna ride it and have fun. But Lance,
that's what makes the difference. I mean, Roglič knew, probably one of the only riders of the peloton who knew this climb. It's close to the border. We've all seen this story that in 2007, he was there with the Slovenian national team juniors. They won the world championships there, ski jumping, in the starting town. And I also saw that in the winter, he had done it a couple of times running. He ran up the climb a few times.
He should have known where that pothole was then.
And then Johan, was it true that the guy, so when he had the mechanical, jumped off his bike, his mechanic gave him like a little 50-meter push, but then some random dude gave him a push that apparently was his junior teammate in ski jumping? Is that true? And he happened to be right there?
There was 3 guys, 3 ex-teammates of his, and they were 100 meters apart. There was one guy 100 meters before. That guy was there, like a little bit, and then there was another guy 100 meters more up. So, I mean, this was meant to be. He had to win this race. It was his hometown race. I mean, if you look at my backdrop, this is Slovenia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice story. I read a little bit about it. This guy was part of the Slovenian ski jumping team, and I mean, that push was definitely worth it. The fact,
arguably on such a steep climb, maybe he did get a little bit of rest. That was, helped a bit, but he was going to win anyway.
Yeah, well, listen, he was on a mission. Mission, and I mean, even without, if you look, Thomas lost 7 seconds to Roglič in the changing zone, and Roglič lost 13 seconds. 13 seconds plus whatever speed he was at, but I think the adrenaline he got after that, and the push from the mental push from all the spectators. He was. I mean, otherwise he would have won by a minute. If he doesn't have that mechanical. So, it was meant to be. This. I think 25% of Slovenia was on that climb. I mean, I don't know how many people live there. 2 million people.
Yeah, you saw the start even on the ramp. It was just all Slovenians. Just imagine
Primož. Yeah.
Imagine the energy he had for that.
Yeah. Well, while you guys are all lathered up, do you want to talk about the mechanical and the gear options? Because I know you.
Let's go, because I want to spend some time on that before. But so JB, will you just put a little bookmark in that for a second?
Gotcha.
So I can take care of some business. Today's show also brought to you by HVMN. This is also, and again, something that we really incorporated into our daily grind. Really is really what it comes down to. HVMN launched the world's first drinkable ketone in 2017. Ketone IQ is their latest innovation on ketones with improved effectiveness, taste, and cost. Keep in mind, back in the day, none of those things were really present. They've actually perfected that. Check this out too. Delivers clean fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier, supplying your brain and body sustained energy, mental focus, and sharpness. Pretty amazing. And as we know, and as we talk about a lot, most of this peloton, or a wide majority of this peloton, is actually using the product today. So pretty cool there. Head on over to hvmn.com. Use the promo code THEMOVE at checkout. That gets you 20% off. Again, that's hvmn.com. Use the promo code THEMOVE for 20% off. Also, exciting news. We have a new sponsor of our show today, Caldera Lab. Say goodbye to the generic face wash on your counter, because Caldera Lab is here to save the day when it comes to your skin. Backed by a leading clinical trial where 9 out of 10 men experienced healthier and visibly improved skin. I'm going to say that again. 9 out of 10 men that used it experienced healthier.
One of those 9.
Everybody knows. We're monitoring it as well. We know you're one of those 9. You always look good, though, George. They've got a nice bundle you guys can check out. It's called the Clean Slate, the Base Layer, and the Good. The Clean Slate's where you start your day. The base layer is a nutrient-dense fortifying moisturizer that hydrates your skin. And the Good is your go-to at night before bed, and also clinically proven. This is the thing I hate to even look at and think about. As you age, you might notice more fine lines, right? That's where Caldera Lab comes in, helps smooth those out. Today, we have an exclusive offer for our audience so you can try for yourself why so many men trust Caldera Lab for all their skincare needs. Get 20% off with the code THEMOVE at calderalab.com. There's no S in there, by the way, calderalab.com. And the code is THEMOVE. By the way, they also sent me some soap. Whatever soap you guys sent, I'm telling you, this soap, it's got like some, I don't know what that's called, when it's got stuff in it. It's like rough. Man, exfoliating. That's what it's called. That's what I've been using a lot of. Again, calderalab.com/TheMove gets you 20% off. And if you need it, the code is THEMOVE. All right, let's go back to the technical parts of the time trial, the bike changes, the equipment choices. We saw, just as a reminder for y'all, the bike change that Roglič had the day before, switching out from basically a standard road bike to a climbing bike, let's call it, with a one by. You just don't, we've seen as cycling has over the years gone from primarily on the mountain bike side initially, now, of course, into gravel. When we all started doing those things years ago, there was a 2x. So you had 2 chain rings in the front and, whatever in the back, 10 to 12 in the back. Well, then the mountain bike is basically, I remember when I first went one by in the mountain bike, I thought this isn't going to work. The jumps between the different gears is going to be too much. It's going to feel awkward. You're never going to really find that perfect rhythm. I never experienced that. And of course, now gravel has gone that way. Et voila. You got Primož Roglič switching to a bike with a one by for a hilly mountain stage, which it got a lot of attention, and it almost got too much attention, actually, if you consider yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, you have to ask yourself the question, they did obviously test this. I mean, on the Trecimi de Lavaredo, I think it worked really well there. I think the whole purpose was because he rode it a 44 in the back, but I think the purpose was to be on the 38. It goes from 38 to 44. But, the smaller the chainring you have in the front, and the jumps are not so big. And also, if the speed is really low, you don't really notice it so much. But I was obviously, what happened in the time trial was that you had this massive power on the pedals, and then you have this little. It
was like a drainage ditch.
Yeah,
because the road was that steep. They have to build these things in just to funnel water down the mountain. If it rains that hard or when the snow is melting. But yeah, it was like a drainage ditch.
Yeah. I don't know what the possibilities are. I do remember though that a while ago there was availability of a chain, not a chain stop, but a chain guide.
So do we know where it fell off the front chainring? Or
it fell off on the outside, not on the inside. It fell out the outside. So if you have a chain
of the front chainring, it didn't get stuck in the bottom or top.
No.
It fell off the front.
No, that was also why he was able to put it up, because Roglič actually put it back on himself. I don't know. There was obviously not a chain guide on there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have not fallen. It could fall off, but it would still be holding up there.
Mm-hmm.
Which in this case, then you can stay on your bike, and if you keep pedaling, it goes back on, right?
Yeah, but that still doesn't make sense to me, because we never have issues on mountain bikes, and we're doing the same sort of steepness and hitting roots and all kinds of bumps all the time, and that doesn't. It's never happened to me. Has it happened to you?
Right. No, it hasn't. The only thing that would make me really nervous, of course, these teams have the best mechanics in the world. But what I have had on a on a mountain bike is when you are in your biggest gear, and if it's not perfectly tuned, I've had it jump into the spokes. Then you have obviously at a 44 is this big one, may or may not have used it. But if it's not perfectly tuned, and if God forbid that chain jumps inside and goes between that big chain ring in the back or the big cog in the back into the spokes, and it's under pressure, then you may not get it out, right? And so then it was also interesting too. And if you guys and gals watched, there were no team cars. So you had a mechanic on a motorcycle holding a bike. So they were not sending team cars up there. So that already just sort of seems strange. I get it. The road was that narrow and that steep and that remote, but it would have, if the worst possibility would have happened, it would have been disaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
in fact, I was on the bike riding.
Worst case scenario, he had the spare bike, right? So a guy on a motorbike with a bike on his shoulder, the advantage is that you have the bike straight away very quickly. But yeah, it was drama. It was drama. And at the end of the day, it added to the suspense, of course.
Of course.
Absolutely. Because I was on the bike riding, admittedly, I wasn't watching it live. And I started getting pinged by the team, the We Do team messages like, oh no, Roglič, what terrible luck. Cannot believe he's going to lose it. And I'm like, what is happening? And then I was like 30 minutes away from that. By the time I got to my house, I was like, he still won. So it's kind of funny. I got the suspense and drama over text messages from you guys. But yeah, that couldn't have added any more suspense to that stage. It was pretty awesome to watch.
Well, and if you go back and review, and just for y'all listening at home, during the races, we have a group chat going. And so we're constantly sending each other messages back and forth. And one of the messages I think from you on was what does this do for his morale? You imagine he was not winning by enough at that point. And then you have that. And of course he's getting communicated with through his earpiece. What does that do to his morale? And I think we got the answer. It just showed you how strong. You had two choices when something like that happens. You just feel like, oh shit, well, I got a built-in excuse. Let's just, second is cool or whatever. Or you say, I'm going to go as hard as I can and I don't care. And I'm going to overcome this. And he did. Like the guy's a warrior.
I think this is a real proof that, to be able to keep going like that with that same rage, it only confirms what he has had to overcome in the past. He has bounced back from so many, like being Olympic champion after his, after his fall in the Tour, then, winning the Vuelta, last year, crashing again in the Tour, being out, coming to the Vuelta, being basically on a way back again to try to win it. the way this guy bounces back his mindset is second to none in my opinion.
And two things in this press conference, they asked him what it was next, and he said, "Well, we all know what's missing." So I think he still has hope for the Tour de France, which is pretty amazing. And secondly, you can say one thing: he had the mechanical, and perhaps he was getting the information that he was 30 seconds ahead. But I don't think he was, because at the finish line, when he's in the change room, he had no idea if he was going to win or lose until Geraint Thomas crossed the line. If he was legit in shock when he found out he won. So, which was an awesome video that you sent yesterday.
Well, and another good look that I thought was really cool, and I'd never seen it before, is I've seen it when a guy has the best time. So they put him in what they call the hot seat, right? So Sepp Kuss had the best time. He's sitting in the hot seat, and then somebody comes and breaks the time. They normally just get up and say, well, I don't have the best time. I'm not going to win. I don't have to go to the podium. I don't have to go to drug control, but whatever. Sepp Kuss stayed there and had 3 or 4 teammates around him, and they had the cameras fixed on him. And when and they must have had a big TV screen or a big monitor for them to watch. When their reaction when he dropped the chain, I mean, it was it was hard to watch. It was like these guys just said, "Shit, we just rode 3 weeks
in the worst weather,
in this just dog shit weather, and it's over now. Like that's it. Like they looked broken."
It was like La Planche. It was like La Planche de Belleville all over again. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also because there's been so much speculation. And there you see that whatever people think, whatever we think, whatever journalists try to make a story of, it's just not true, because everybody say, he has this trauma. The last time trial in the Tour, the uphill time trial, he's going to have flashbacks. No, he doesn't. I mean, he just knew that he was. He had to go super fast, and he needed to go like so much faster to win. It's like the guy's a machine.
Yeah.
And speaking of the hot seat, I think we'd be remiss not to mention the fact that 3 Americans were in the hot seat: Sepp Kuss, Brandon McNulty, and our good buddy Matteo Riccatello. Amazing ride from all 3 of them. Riccatello is super young, first-year pro. Be leading the Giro, the time trial in the Giro, the Italian, one of the hardest time trials in the history of the race, was incredible. I think for all of us to witness.
We've been saying it.
We talked about Sepp Kuss on the Thursday check-in with Johan and Spencer, and because we talked about Sepp Kuss's possibilities for this time trial, and Johan was like, he will be so cooked from the 2 days prior. So keep in mind how much work Sepp Kuss did leading up to this, and to still have that kind of performance.
Yeah, Sepp Kuss is there are no 2 or 3 riders like him that a leader can dream of.
Right.
This guy he has the same value as a leader of any other than the top 3 teams. That's his value to a leader. Market value. The guy is there when you need him. He needs.
That's right.
3 days, the 3 hardest stages, and he was there, and he was unbelievably strong, unbelievable.
Which I hope they send him to the Tour, but I don't know if they will, just because of such a hard Giro. But one thing I'll point out, JB, too, is that when you're in the 3rd week of the Tour de France, whether you're pulling or trying to survive to make it to the finish line, you're reacting the same. I mean, Sepp Kuss was pulling on the climbs, doing a lot of work, but he had the form to be there at the finishes. So I wasn't surprised to still see him do a good ride in the time trial, just because he's clearly recovering well. The guys that are surviving the Gruppetto, they're as tired as Sepp Kuss. So for me, it was not much of a surprise to see him up there in the time trial. It was like when we would finish the time trials after pulling all the Tour de France's for 3 weeks straight. You either got it or you don't, and you might as well do a good effort in the time trial. And for me, my personal goal is I'm going to try to get top 10 in the last stage of the Tour de France in the time trial, and I would still have the legs to do it. Just because at that point, everybody is just so tired. Your body's just kind of in the zone, and it can react to perform when you need it to.
I want to know this, because usually, it's Johan who's identified these up-and-coming riders since we've been doing this. But Lance, you've known Matthew Riccatello since he was how old?
Before he was anything. Are you kidding me? I've known his father I met his father, Jimmy Riccatello, I think so, in 1987. 1987.
Oh, well, I didn't know that far back.
Yeah,
born yet. Yeah.
No, he was not born yet, but I've known Jimmy and Tracy, Matthew's mother, for a long time, and his sister as well. So it's been cool to see the whole family's amazing, right? They're just great folks, and Matthews is going to be a great bike racer, but he's also, as is his sister, just really bright, good kids, very humble, hardworking, adventurous, obviously from Tucson. That city is very proud of the whole Riccatello family. So I did have a question about that, Johan. You mentioned, because you were starting to say, I think that he had lost a fair amount of time in the flat section and to make up. I'm curious just how because you can kind of look at this thing as 2 time trials, right? Either you're just not great on a flat time trial, or you're just that exceptional uphill. But how fast did he go? I mean, this is, by the way, I've known the kid along his whole life, right? This is a perfect climb for him, right? He's very light. He's explosive. He's what was the difference there?
Well, I haven't seen the times, but I can expect he has gone, I mean, maximum 50 seconds slower than Roglič on the climb, because I think he was over a minute down on the flat part.
Wow.
Ready. So, that's a really, really great performance. I mean,
right.
If you look, the first 5 are the first 5 of the GC. So obviously the strongest riders, right? So if you're there and you're in 11th, that's a really amazing performance. I mean, look, the guys, Sepkus, McNulty, Arendsman, Leknesund, and Jay Vine are the other guys who are in front of him. Mm-hmm. He's up there with the best climbers in the world.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Geraint Thomas and just what that must have felt like. I mean, we talked a little about the helmet change, and I have to say I didn't see that coming. I thought he had the experience. He looked great in the 3 or 4 days before that. In fact, looked better than Primož Roglič.
He looked very solid.
He looked so good. I just didn't see that coming, and I don't think he did either, frankly.
And at the end of the day, if you look at it, I mean, he was still second in the time trial, right? Yeah. I think he didn't have, it was the combination of not having a super day. He had a good day, not a super day, and he kind of faded a little bit in the last 2 kilometers, and Roglič having an amazing day. I honestly thought, I didn't know who's going to, I thought it was 50-50 for the time trial, but, for Roglič to take 40 seconds back, that's not the Geraint Thomas we've seen during the rest of the mountain stages. The difference was, very, very small. I think the most that Roglič has been putting him in danger was the stage that Derek G won, when Roglič attacked on that Cat 2 climb in the beginning of the Giro. And if you look at it, Geraint Thomas loses the Tour of Italy with 14 seconds. And that's 2 seconds less than what he lost in the first time trial to Roglič. He lost 16 seconds on Roglič in stage 1.
Wow.
That's the difference with which the Giro is decided.
I think I got some of his coolness and mindset. One, he seems like a really decent person, but he's got the Tour de France win. Roglič does not, right? So Geraint Thomas can go. That would have stung so much more if he didn't have a Tour de France win under his belt.
I don't know. Yeah, he does. He'll always have that. Although I wonder what ever happened if he ever got the trophy back. Remember some idiot stole his trophy? I hope he got it back. But
really?
Yeah, a long time. The cup, the Limoges Cup. But
the Tour will have given him another one, I guess.
You think? I'm not so sure about that. I got so much shit. I said, don't worry, buddy. I got 7 of them right here in the house if you want to borrow one for a little bit. All the hate. Well, fuck you win one. I don't know. Hang on there. Oh, there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah. Geraint, let you. But what I was going to say, JB, is at his age, I don't know, man, 37 years old, you just he's smelling it. And he's been outspoken about this point in his career where do I retire? Do I renew? A renewal would, probably be another 2 years. This is big.
Did he say
independently whether he wanted or not? I think this is marking this is some kind of a rebirth, a little bit of his motivation. For sure. So at the beginning of the year, I think he kind of hinted at retiring, right? We can already know he's not retiring. There's no way he's retiring. He says himself that, you know, he always kept the faith that it was other people who thought that he couldn't win anymore. And I think that if you really listen carefully at his interview, he's going to go for the Vuelta at the end of the year.
All I remember, and I might need one of you British listeners out there. The interview that I saw that I really liked, he said, he's like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to be on the piss for the next 2 months. Now, we all know what that means over here, but if I'm sitting here going, hang on, he's not going to drink piss. Does that mean he's just going to get hammered for 2 months? Because that doesn't add up to a Vuelta.
No, but
I did see him say that in one of the interviews, and I thought it just the guy is a very likable guy.
Yeah, really.
It also points out how important the battle on Friday stage, where the amount of poise that a guy like Roglič, that you mentioned, Johan, he's come back from so much, and Thursday he lost 30 seconds, got dropped. I think that was more of a tactical error from his team. I think this team went way too hard in places where they didn't really need to go so hard. Perhaps a little bit of miscommunication there. Lost 30 seconds. And then the next day, it looks like Geraint Thomas is dropping him again. He's about 20 meters behind. But that poise and that confidence, he comes back and just puts 3 seconds back on Geraint. But what was that? That was a huge mental blow. That was like a knockout in a boxing match. And it gave him that confidence to where he hits his hometown the next day in front of all of his family and his whole country. I think that was a massive, massive win for him on the day before.
Yeah, Mr. Momentum.
Yep.
Any other highlights, Johan?
I think we should highlight the performances of Roglič. If you look at he's won 3 times the Vuelta already. Which is, an amazing accomplishment. And now he won the Giro, Olympic champion time trial, won Liège-Bastogne-Liège, a monument, 2 times Tirreno, 2 times the Basque Country, 2 times Tour of Romandy, the Dauphiné, Paris-Nice, Catalunya. He has 74 wins in his career, not being a sprinter. That's
and a guy who came late to the sport.
Yeah. And this year, he did not lose one stage race he started in. He started in Tirreno, unannounced, won 3 stages and won the GC. Then he did Catalonia.
So Johan, do they send him to the Tour?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, that's absolutely no. That's why I don't know what they're going to do with Sepp Kuss. One side of me would say, you know what? It's not enough time to recover, because let's not forget, the recovery from this Giro in particular, with the 2 weeks of bad weather and the extremely last hard week, it's going to take a lot. There's some young riders in that Giro. They're not going to recover from the rest of the season.
Right. I think that's right.
Yeah. So on the other hand, you could also say, well, if we really say to Sepp Kuss, okay, you know what, we need you for the last half of the Tour, the first half of the Tour, but the Tour, you can't really do that because everything's so fast, so stressful. Nervous. You can't really, take it easy in the Tour compared to, if you have in the Giro and the Vuelta, okay, this is a flat stage. It's going to be four or 5 guys in the breakaway, and that's it. It's easy. That doesn't happen in the Tour de France, right? So, no, I don't.
I don't know. I don't know, Johan. I feel like we say that, and historically, no, these guys aren't able to recover. But historically, they're also not winning the World Championships in cyclocross, and then 3 weeks later winning, a major one-day cycling event. So I think these days they got the training, the recovery so dialed that they will make the decision in the next few weeks. I think because if he's recovered, why wouldn't you send him?
And Roglič?
Yeah.
No.
I'm with Johan on that. Sepp Kuss is a wild card for me. Who knows how the structure of the team works out, and if guys get sick or something happens and you need somebody. Thing about Sepp Kuss is if they need him, he's gonna be there. Right. That's that's what we said earlier.
Really huge shout out to Jumbo Visma. Let's not forget, in the week prior to the Giro, they had to replace 5 riders of their team. 5 riders, including one of the biggest, the loyal lieutenants for Roglič, which was Tratnik. They bring in 5 new riders. Thomas Gloak, the British young rider, got a call, arrived at midnight before the start of the Giro. Because crashed the day before, and they finished with 8 riders.
Yeah. And those five that didn't make it, they're watching the race, watching the weather. They're going, God, thank God, thank God something happened. I didn't have to do it.
Johan, you were always very adamant with our, number 1 and 2 reserves that you better be ready, because
absolutely,
you never know. And I think once or twice we had to bring a guy in last minute, but that's part of their job is, up until the last minute, they better be ready for that call up, no matter what the time is.
And we talked about it last week, and obviously we lost more riders in the third week. Out of 176 starters, only 125 made it to Rome. It's been a long time since you saw a 3-week tour with that few finishers.
Which is, by the way, why yesterday the Giro asked the UCI to enlarge to 50% the time cut, because if it was 30%, maybe some guys would have not made the time cut.
Like the guy who won today.
Hey, since you guys brought up, Roglič may change plans. What about Remco? Since he went home early, focus on the World Championships.
It's that's why I also say Roglič no, because physically I could say maybe with whatever how cycling is approached now and the training, and maybe it's possible, but mentally, a guy like Roglič cannot just go to. It's impossible to go to the Tour. Mentally, he needs a break, and I think in the case of Evenepoel is the same. This guy cannot just show up at the Tour and say, "Oh, let's see how I feel. Let's see what happens." If he shows up, he needs to show up with his status right now, with a whole team which is prepared around himself, which is not the case. They don't have that right now, and so no, I don't.
George said, "What you saw one of his interviews, and he said, well, there's only one race missing." Is that what is that why you're holding out hope here, George? Just because of that one comment? Because let's not forget. I mean, the guy's no spring chicken. Okay, time is running out.
Let me open a can of worms here.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
Olivia has a game soon.
Roglič is now 33 years old.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jumbo-Visma, they have Vingegaard. If he confirms again this year, which, is very likely, it's going to either he wins or second or third, but he's up there with Pogačar. I'm not excluding that Roglič changes teams. And there's one team that needs a strong leader who they don't have right now, is Ineos. We've already seen that Ineos is fishing for Remco. Obviously Lefebvre is not going to let him go, but they are trying, and they have money. If I'm Ineos, I'm going full gas after a guy like Roglič, because he would fit perfectly into their system. He's a hard worker. He's focused. He would have a great team around him, and they can win the Tour try to win the Tour with Roglič. And I would definitely try that if I'm, what's his name? Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Just, go after him.
Yeah. After he buys Man United, but, okay. We can look,
but he's under contract. Roglič under contract, but it still get bought out. But
there's a lot of stuff going on there, I think, with the title sponsor. And I mean, you could probably look off. I don't even want to, I'm not going to lean into that.
No, most likely he's not gonna change. I think Roglič feels amazingly good at Jumbo-Visma. You know what? The chance of winning the Tour is more unlikely than likely, even if he changes teams. So, but you're also in the same vein, Johan. That's why Ineos. We were going back to Geraint Thomas, whether it's retire or renew. I mean, he has been remarkably consistent, and all of the whether it's Egan Bernal and the injuries, and who knows if he'll ever come back, or Pidcock. They kind of have to have him, right? I mean, he holds all the cards on that one, right? He's gonna get the bag, right, when it's all said and done. Him and Remco. Those two guys. If you look, it's Pogačar, Vingegaard, Remco Evenepoel, and Roglič. Those are the 4 guys. Out of those 4, you would say, okay, Bernal, if he gets back to his level, but that's to be seen. And for the moment, we don't know. But Pogačar is not going to move, and Vingegaard is not going to move. So it's business. And you know what? I mean, I would go after them.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to wrap it up. I got to go watch a lacrosse game.
Yeah, one last bit of info for our listeners. An opportunity is hopefully you're listening to this or watching it online. Sunday is the same day that the race ended. This is the last day to get 20% off on our entire store. You can use and season pass. So the code is Giro 23, and that's
Giro 23. Yeah.
That sale ends today at midnight. So hopefully you can get in on it.
Cool. All
right. Happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody over here. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon.